Sorry, it's 7:01, but welcome everyone to our regular meeting of North City Council. It's March 17th at 7 o'clock p.m. I call this meeting to order. We have a roll call.
Benson.
Here.
Bogenreith.
Here.
Jim Christensen.
Here.
Joan Christensen.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Green.
Here.
Hoffman.
Here.
Meyer.
Here.
All right, let's say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, can we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the March 3rd regular meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Council, department head, community boards? Rusty?
There's a couple things here. Dumpster weekend's going to be April 12th and 13th coming up. It'll be from 8 to 4 on Saturday and 8 to 2 on Sunday, with the rain date being the following weekend for Saturday only. So that's what I tentatively got planned. All the snow plows and fresh load of salt ready for the big snowstorm coming this week. That's all ready to go. And if you've noticed, a lot of the locate flags around town, they're doing an overbuild of internet all over the entire city, not just here, everywhere. I got the company to agree to only, we're gonna permit them in sections, and until each section is completely done to our satisfaction, I'm not gonna sign another permit to other parts of town. They got it built in 4 different quadrants of starting this. They're in this area of town right now for quadrant 1, and until they meet the satisfaction of how I think the dirt needs and what the overbuild is for hitting other utilities, we're not gonna permit them to move to the next section to the next section. So that's my tentative plan right now. They agreed to it and everything seems to be moving smoothly. They started this morning right away and they made a lot of good progress today. I hadn't had too many phone calls about it.
Will it be going to each person's house?
They're gonna run down the alleys in this part of town and there'll be drops to people's houses as they ordered it and need it.
Only if you order it?
Yeah.
Like I don't need it, so then.
Right, but there'll still be a main line down each street in the entire city.
Okay.
When this is all done, I think they said 4 to 6 months they'd have it all done, depending on weather. So they made good progress today.
But this is going to be fiber optic to the house.
I know, but I
Which is
use
a better-
T-Mobile, which is
It is a
it's a cell
different product.
service, so I use that, so I don't need it.
Yep. Then also over the weekend, I had a lift station issue in the Suncoast area. I thought it was weather related, but upon further review, I had a big electrical problem inside a box inside the thing. It may have been flood related. I didn't check into it during the flood or have it open, but when I opened it, it was full of mud and water from the flood. I have temporarily got it working with some bypass stuff. I don't have a company coming until Thursday to get some stuff changed out to get it working correctly, but we're gonna move it out onto the top like we did all the other lift stations, more of a safety issue so we can work on it. So maybe something I would have overlooked during the flood, but all the electrical comes into a one point inside the wet well and it was underwater for 2 or 3 days and has worked properly until this weekend, but I'm confident I got it working good enough till Thursday. The company's supposed to be here at 8 o'clock and we're gonna do some rehab at the Suncoast lift station here this week. That's all I got.
Thanks, Rusty.
I've just got one thing on the Code Red. We do have 102 people signed up. So we just need to keep the word out to get people signed up for that. It's going pretty well. Sounds like people have not had too many problems signing up, so that's a good thing. Unless that keeps busy with phone calls, I know. So everybody's wondering how to get signed up, but if you can get the word out, have people get signed up for that. It's going to be, we're coming into summer, so we're going to have some weather things going out on that. As the Weather Service puts out a warning, it'll also put it out on our system, so.
If somebody has trouble getting signed up with Code Red, the thing I noticed when I signed up is I really didn't get what I thought was a clear indication that my sign-up process was successfully completed. Later on, I got a message that I had successfully completed the sign-up, but at the time when I was doing it, I didn't. So I don't know if anybody else has had that issue, or I'm not the most IT savvy guy in the world either, so it could have been
Haven't heard of that.
operator error.
But if it saves without any errors, you're signed up. Because it will tell you that you have an error. It won't save. So when you go to save your information, it won't save if you have an error.
But I never got a,
Confirmation?
yeah, I never got a, okay, you're done kind of message. And I don't know if there's anything you can do about that, or just to tell people that they're not gonna get an okay, you're done.
Yeah, you probably won't, but I'll ask them. We can put that message up.
Is there a way to cross-check and make sure we have everybody signed up, or how are we gonna go through that?
The admins can see the database, so yeah, I mean, we could, if you want to sift through a database, we can tell, but it tells us there's 102 signed up right now.
See, I thought when we were talking to those people, they had access to databases that was gonna let them kind of autofill. Did I misunderstand that?
There is, the other databases, yeah, our database is imported in there too, right? You sent that to them? So yeah,
It came to my phone, so they had to
Yeah,
send it from somewhere.
But what they meant by that is they will send you the message of that phone. They don't necessarily automatically sign you up because you're in the database.
correct. Yep,
You still have to opt in.
you still have to opt in.
Still have what?
You still have to opt in, so you
Oh.
require something on your part. Now that's with our database. In a emergency situation where you just pick an area, you can send it to all of the subscribers that are in that area through their other databases. But ours requires an opt-in.
I think it's on the city website. If I haven't checked, but I was told it was on the city website where you can
Yes.
sign up.
Yep.
So this whole code red thing will be an ongoing process where we go through various databases and trying to get people to sign up. And as that goes, as that exhausts itself, we will continue to we'll start sending out mailings, notification on our water bill, stuff like that, to try to continually get people to sign up. And we'll set some goals and objectives to try to get people signed up over the course of the next 3 months. And that'll be through mailings, emails, whatever we can do to get people to sign up. So it's just going to be an ongoing process as we grow that participation.
Is there assistance to somebody that needs help doing that? Could they come to City Hall and get signed up, or not? Or do we need to see if there's some volunteers that would help people sign up?
I know Licetta's taken many phone calls and signed people up that couldn't figure it out, or things like that, so they have done that.
Okay.
Have you got a lot of calls?
2 max
Okay, so,
so far. But
Yeah.
also, like, to verify, they can call City Hall, say like, hey, I signed up, can you confirm that I signed up?
to verify that you
I
got
can
signed up.
click on there just to give you like that second step process where if you do want verification and confirmation that it was successful, I can let you know, hey, you are signed up for email and text and phone call. So for those that don't have like texting capabilities or email capabilities, you can also sign up for like a phone call
Oh,
where you get a phone call. And so I can sign you up or you can sign yourself up, but there is a capability where they can call City Hall. They don't even have to show up to City Hall, but if they are paying their utility bill, I can get them signed up within minutes.
I'm assuming there's something more than 2,000 cell phones in the community. If we're a town of 3,040 people, so at 100, we got a ways to go.
We got a ways to go. Yeah. Just gotta get word out that it's there, so I was gonna start a Facebook post and see if we can get more people to sign up, so then we'll just need people to share that.
Yeah, I'll see you.
Did
Have
you have a
we-
question?
Or-
What if their phone on do not disturb at night, will it go through that?
That's a very good question. I don't, unless you have it set to allow weather warnings, probably not. Yeah, you can make exceptions, yes, yep. And I can help you with that if you need.
Have we gotten the document from Blue Cell yet on the
I'm meeting with them on Thursday.
Do you think you'll get it then, or?
I think we've already got it. I think the mayor had it, gave it to me. I've read through it, and that's kind of what gave birth to the EOP process that you sat in on. To develop better lines of communication, better structure for decision-making, and a management structure, and that kind of thing. So I think that, and you're welcome to come sit in with me with Blue Cell if you'd like to on Thursday.
Yeah, I would like to do that. I had a committee going early on, and we were told Blue Cell was going to do that document, so we kind of put everything on hold until we get that document. So there are some citizens that are interested in participating and helping with that process.
With the EOP process?
Yeah.
There'll be public meetings on it and stuff once we get it to that point.
Yeah. And I have reached out to, previously I've sent the group information from Akron and Hayward on their flood experience, and recently I spoke to Hudson, South Dakota, and I visited with them about Fairview, which has a gauging station as well. So I'll be getting that information out. But the last community I was anticipating going to is Rock Valley to find out what their flood marks, reference marks were. Have you heard anything more on the game fishing parks, cleanup of the lake?
Yes, I understand the RFP is now available for public, or for the contractors. You need just email, Game Fish and Parks provided an email, and contractors are supposed to be reaching out through that email to request a set of documents. I believe the bid date is around April 21st, something like that, third week of April.
Do you have a set of those bid documents?
I do not. I've requested them.
Do you know how last meeting we talked about the dirt and availability of the dirt? I'm really interested in trying to keep that dirt in the community, and trying to work out a way that we can utilize that dirt. If it leaves the community, then we'll have to buy more dirt, or somebody will have to buy more dirt to fill all the holes, or we'll be in a situation where the contractor who has the contract may want to sell us the dirt. So if we could make arrangements with Game Fish and Parks to keep the dirt in the community, I think it'll be a valuable asset to the community.
I think that's something we can look into, but I think one of the things Game Fish and Parks wants to do is leave it up to the contractor so that they can get the best price for removing the dirt. And I think our best hope is to work with the contractor who gets the award. And that's something we'll just have to wait and see. But like I said, that's driven by Game Fish and Parks, and they're leaving them, my understanding is they're leaving the means and methods to the contractor.
There's a pre-bid meeting the week before at the Nature Center.
Well, I just, I know I'm repeating myself, but it just seems like it's an obvious value to have that dirt stay in the community. And if we leave it up to the contractor, he's got to want some additional payment for that. If we have a place for them to put the dirt that's convenient, that seems like that would get Game Fish and Parks the most economical project, rather than.
We can make spots available for them.
Yeah, I think we need to reach out to them and communicate, if we can get that done. I would think it would be a big plus for the community. Has the fire department made any progress in terms of the dirt from the, Cody, I know you're the chairman of the fire district board. Have you made any progress with getting dirt over to the flood impacted areas to help those people?
We actually have a meeting over that on Thursday.
This coming Thursday?
And we do have to wait till it stops, so Rusty can take the equipment out of his trucks to move it, so.
Well, that doesn't look like that's going to happen before Thursday, but I do think that it would be beneficial to at least have all the paperwork and I's dotted and T's crossed so that could happen, and also so people could plan. I mean, the issue I foresee is that as spring is coming, people are going to be trying to work on their property, and do they have to buy dirt, or can there be dirt available on Penrose someplace for their use? So
Greg,
If
what's
we
your,
just
what's
had
your
the-
thoughts on that pile of dirt? If we brought that pile of dirt there, do we try to divide it up equally amongst those who need it, or first come, first serve, or, I mean, one person with a big loader is gonna be able to take, or even a Bobcat's gonna be able to take it all and nobody will get any, you know? So I just wanna make sure that we're thinking about those kind of things before we
Anna, right
jump
here,
on
she
all
wants
this.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that,
Everybody wants it.
I just don't wanna create a situation we can't manage once we get it there.
well, I think that it would be good to have a conversation about that, but I think that Rusty kind of set the precedent on that by stockpiling dirt on the end of Penrose, and people just came and got it as they needed it. And granted, some people did get most all of the dirt initially. I didn't hear any complaints about that. I think the people in the area are pretty understanding that if dirt goes someplace, it's filling a good need, and let's just keep working and working for ways to get dirt in there so we got everybody's needs taken care of. And I don't want to get, if somebody has a better idea, I'm certainly open to that. My goal is to try to get as much dirt in those holes as possible, and as soon as possible. So, see if we can make it happen, and the alternative to the previous operation that went on is I would like to see the dirt stockpiled at the south end of Penrose rather than at the north end, so you're not trafficking through the neighborhood with every bucket load of dirt as it's being hauled. So, there are volunteers that showed up with dump trailers that have hauled dirt for people and those types of things. So, if we can get the dirt and get a process going to get the dirt over there, then we can maybe work on a way of trying to get it in people's yards and get it taken care of. So if you can get that would be great. Well, we're talking about the weather, and you're hearing all kinds of scary numbers for Wednesday about how much snow we're going to get. But I've noticed, and I would defer to the residents of Penrose, but the granular surfacing down there gets pretty soft, and I almost think I need to put my Jeep in four-wheel drive when I'm going through there, and I have kind of flotation tires on a relatively light vehicle. I'm just wondering if we shouldn't look at putting some form of a coarser layer of rock on, a cleaner layer of rock. The rock that's there gets soft and mushy when it's wet, and certainly tracks up, and it looks like that's going to be the situation until at least midsummer. And then the second part of that issue that I would raise is some mechanism for grading as it gets rutted and we're getting potholes from the traffic. Does the city have a way to grade that area so it's beginning to be maintained until the construction period starts? I know I'd defer to the residents of Penrose about that, but I know is there rock available that could be scattered on there, something coarser that could be put on there to?
All I got is the pink Class A. We can get some coarser stuff later this week or whatever you prefer.
They do have some fresh concrete that we salvaged before too, that might help stabilize that a little bit. Put some fresh concrete from a stockpile on our property on the east end of the project.
So maybe you could take a look at that and see if that would help that process out a little bit. Do you have anything to grade it? I know the city doesn't have a blade or a grader, piece of equipment.
We'd probably have to hire one of the contractors, maybe Lever or somebody that would have a blade that could come in and shape it up after it's ready. So we'd have to hire someone.
Well, could a person, for dressing up ruts and stuff, couldn't a person just park a skid loader out there and one of the guys that's necessary fill ruts in or whatever?
We'll figure
That's what I'd do, man. Other than hire somebody with a grader.
We'll look at it in the morning.
Thank you. The last item I have is the Bailey the LG Everest rock issue, as I walk around town, I'm hearing the thunder of the rocks falling in the boxes all over town, and I gotta think that's really difficult if you're living next to it, and certainly an issue for people throughout the community. I don't know if you've had any decibel readings. Randy Bailey tells me he's taking some, and they're in the mid to high 80s. I don't know if you're hearing anything from Everest, if there's anything we can do about that, or...
Well, I did go over there today with LG Everest to look at where the pile was relative to where they said it would be, and it does need to shrink up to the north some more, which they said that should be happening now as this round of rock they're taking to Nebraska comes to an end here shortly. So that pile should be able to shrink. But as we were standing there, it was very loud on the inside of the train, or inside, where they're working. We went to the other side of the train, other side of the berm, and the train's the apartment side, and it wasn't nearly as loud there. Still loud. But the berm, it appeared to me that the berm and the cars are dampening that noise. Now, it's still a noise, no doubt. I'm not discounting that. That's my observation from being out there today.
So is there anything that can be done in the operation to reduce the volume of that noise? I mean, I always think in terms of how high is the loader bucket, and how far are they dropping the rock before?
I watched them today, and they are easing them into the truck. Those are big rocks. It still makes a lot of noise, and I asked them if they could put some in the bottom of it, and they said they could put some smaller rock in the bottom to deaden that sound, but then as they deliver it, it doesn't meet spec to where they're delivering it to. So there's just a lot of challenges there, but
So what does it mean when you say that rock going to Nebraska is does that mean that will reduce the volume of rock moving in the near future?
Yeah, they've got a big contract right now to move that rock down there, and now they get all that ate up down back to the original pile, then it will be smaller lots that they're hauling out of there. But right now, today they had probably 6 to 8 trucks there hauling out rock.
And it was all the large rock, which I am presuming would be noisier, but I don't know that.
It's all bigger rock, though, I think, from what I can tell. 500s or 250s or 500s, I can't remember what he said, but yeah.
That's all I have.
Anybody else? Jeff, were you going to talk?
Yeah, just real quick. Went through a lot of stuff there. I'll try to keep this short, but the live feed, Kevin's here today recording. It's not live yet, but we did Lisette did a great job today setting up a YouTube channel that we hope to be able to broadcast future council meetings and events on. It's a City of North Sioux City YouTube channel, so we're going to start tomorrow trying it with the equalization meeting. We'll test it on the equalization meeting, and then it should be hopefully be available now just on YouTube. So when we advertise for our meetings and stuff, we can say, go to this link, and they'll be able to go to YouTube and see the live meeting, whether it's this meeting or a council meeting or a zoning meeting, whatever we're putting on. We hope to have it live for the candidate forum that we're having here at the council chambers on the 24th. That'll provide people an opportunity to test it out. And we'll also be able to put recordings on our YouTube channel, so you'll always be able to go back and see the various meetings. We talked about the after action plan. That kind of spurred the EOP, which is Emergency Operating Procedures, that we'll continue to work on, and I'll be talking to Blue Cell about that again on Thursday. The agendas, you kind of see the agenda here, it's somewhat short. I'll just be taking care of direct business over the next couple of council meetings. We're still working on all the different projects, the mitigation and all that stuff. As this new council transitions out and the new commission transitions in, we'll be able to hit the ground running with them at their first meeting late April, early May. I just wanted to comment a little bit. I went to Asheville, North Carolina, and met with their city manager, their fire department, their emergency management, their sustainability director, who is now also their recovery director. They kind of repurposed that person to just focus on recovery efforts. And I'll tell you that the similarities between our event and their event are crazy. It's just theirs was a lot bigger geographical area. I mean, if you take a snapshot of our damage and a snapshot of their damage, it's very, very similar. It's just that they had, just widespread and a lot longer duration of problems. I mean, they were out of water and electricity for like 50 days. They had a main water line that fed their water plant severed by water current. And it took them quite a while to get that back online. And then when they did, the water plant wouldn't work, and they had to pump raw water through it to provide residents with water to bathe and stuff. But the communities are very similar too. Asheville is the same size as the Sioux City metro area. Our income levels are relatively the same. Our issues are relatively the same. They just completed their emergency operations plan in 2023, which created some issues for them in 2024 because it was new and they'd only drilled on it a couple of times. But they worked through it. They have a lot broader staff to get things done. The river stages and the peaks that they experienced on their river is very similar to ours. I mean, 6-7 feet over the record. And their recovery has been very similar trajectory as ours. They're still in the infrastructure phase of that, trying to repair their infrastructure and get it back to full operations. A lot of damaged houses, businesses, a lot of people still living in alternative housing. And one of the things that we tried to focus on was this HUD allocation that they had gotten. They had gotten a $225 million HUD allocation through the CDBG disaster program. The state of South Dakota has just gotten a $15 million award in that same program. And I reviewed their action plan, and they kind of walked me through that process. And what the action plan does is identifies unmet needs that the community has. And in Asheville's case, their action plan identified things like infrastructure, affordable housing, outreach to people, some of the same things that we have. And, so as we develop, and that's what drives where the money goes. So, they're putting a substantial amount of money into infrastructure repair. I don't think that's necessarily would be one of our needs, I think we've got a trajectory to get our infrastructure back to where it was using FEMA reimbursement, but they have a lot more of it to do, and so they're going to direct some of it there. The housing part of it, they identified affordable housing as an issue there, just like we have here, and they hope to try to remedy some of that with some of the CDBG money. To provide affordable housing. One of the problems they found is that so many people lost their homes and businesses that they didn't have any place for people to go, affordable housing. So they're trying to direct some of this money to try to address that, to make some more affordable housing, to allow people a place to resettle. The other stark difference in the two environments, similar events, but the state of North Carolina has a large fund called the R&R program. It's called Recovery and Rehabilitation. And that program has been capitalized through other events. I want to say they got almost $800 million over the last 10 years to capitalize this same money, HUD, CDBG money, to capitalize this. And they use that to help residents and businesses repair and rehabilitate their houses and businesses. That's just a program that the state of South Dakota doesn't have, and this is the first time the state of South Dakota has ever gotten any of this HUD CDBG disaster money. So as we work with the state in developing, they'll be developing this action plan, which will identify unmet needs. And we don't know what those are yet, but hopefully we can work with them to identify those. And then from that is where the action plan will be developed and put into effect. Again, one of the things that I've encouraged the state, and I said this last week, is to try, we don't need infrastructure right now. We need assistance for repairs for private properties. And so hopefully they can utilize, I'd like to see them utilize the city as a conduit for that. And we'll have to just continue to work through that process. But it's going to be driven by what they determine our unmet needs are. And so when they look at our community, they'll find out what the unmet needs are, and then that'll drive the HUD monies for. One of the things I asked them as I left was, the last question I asked them was, what do you guys see as your biggest mitigation problem right now so that you can avoid this problem in the future? And their biggest problem is the trees. They lost so many trees there that when the floodwaters came through it collapsed all the trees in their beds and created, in their riverbeds, and created dams and whatnot. And so right now, there's so many dead trees that they're at risk of that happening again in a big rain where the trees fall into the streams and stuff. So their biggest mitigation thing is to continually remove trees. And their debris process will last for years. Removal of debris will last for years. They have a lot of homes and businesses that are still in piles there. That'll take them years. And one of the things that I noticed there is that their event, recovery, and rebuild process is very similar to ours in that it takes a while to get through the infrastructure part of that recovery and get into the next phase. And so that's kind of what they're in right now, is trying to just get into this next phase of recovery to help people out. Because they can't help people unless they have their infrastructure in line. And that's really what their focus has been, is infrastructure and getting this HUD money ready for allocation within their community. In regards to long-term mitigation, I wanted to mention that I've been working with the county group with Mike Daly and his team to, we will be submitting a letter to the Corps of Engineers, or the county will be submitting a letter to the Corps of Engineers on Tuesday. And the communities of Dakota Dunes, North Sioux City, Sioux City, Jefferson will be asked to support that letter of intent to look at flooding in the Big Sioux River Basin over the last 10 years, and also specifically to look at the 1976 plan that was developed to build all the levees that protect North Sioux City, and specifically the portion of that plan that closes Interstate 29 at exit 4. So we had some really good calls with the Corps of Engineers through this process, and I think they're anxious to take it up. I think they see the value in it. The problem is, and I've said this before, it's a slow process. The letter of intent will be processed, and that process will allocate money for 2025 into 2026. So there's going to be a delay in when that letter is received, to when it's processed, to when it can be funded. And once it's funded, then they'll start looking at the scope of work that we're talking about here. Hopefully the outcomes of that will be what can we do, what can be done differently than was done in the 1976 plan. I mean, just out of the sheer age of that plan, it should be reevaluated. And I think they agree with that. So this letter of intent will start that process. We're continuing to work on the short-term mitigation plan, which is meant to manage the situation better in the short term, while longer-term things can be remedied. And that, like I said earlier, that will be available for the new commission to consider once they get on board. So that's all I have.
Did Asheville have the same issues of notification or lack of notification that we had?
Yes, they did, and mainly because they lost all communication. I mean, their main form of communication when the event happened and afterwards was printing off a daily newsletter, just printing it off at the city hall or wherever they had power, and then taking it out to the community centers, to senior centers, and then people just started coming to those areas for things like news and information, water. I mean, they had to truck in, I want to say 200 million gallons of water, 200 million bottles of water for people to use and bathe and stuff. And so these community areas became centers for distributing information and MREs, water, for people to get messages back and forth. So they did have that same problem, especially right after the flood when there was no communication.
Right after this flood, I was doing some research looking for assistance, and I ran across an organization, and I believe it was Cedar Rapids was in Iowa was involved in it. Communities that have had flooding in eastern Iowa, and there is an organization of cities that deals with that. And I'm sorry I can't remember off the top of my head that organization, but if I can find that again, I will send that to you.
Another thing to note too is they did bring in a consultant to help them through this whole process post-flood. During the flood, they did kind of the same thing Blue Cell did for North Sioux City, but then they kept them on to help the rebuilding process, which has been, according to them, invaluable to their rebuilding process. It just provides a lot more horsepower to process through all the information. They also said Blue Cell was there to helping them as well. So it's an incredible story. I'll have a PowerPoint presentation that they made for me while I was out there. They're going to send it to me, and I'll provide that to you all to take a look at. It has got some great information in it.
Anybody else? Okay, let's move on to community input. If there is any. Want to come up to the microphone so everybody can hear you?
I'm Scott Olson, Penrose, and I just have a follow-up question on that. Did they have communication in the form of warning before the flood?
That I don't know. I'm assuming they did, yeah, but, I mean, it was on all the news and all that stuff, but their event happened because of the 13-inch rain that happened just in their area. So ours happened on a 10-inch rain that happened further north. So they probably didn't have a lot of time for notification, but a lot of that stuff would have been going out as the storm approached.
By something other than community center newsletters?
Yeah, I'm sure they use Code Red. I think they actually do use Code Red. Yeah, so, but you got to keep in mind that once that stuff started happening, they lost all communication, cell phones, all communication. So that's part of the EOP that they're trying to refine right now, as to how to correspond when all communication is going.
Val Howard, Penrose. Just wanted to say that Renee wanted you to know that she does have a spreadsheet with the 81 families of unmet needs, if you are interested
Okay.
in it.
We'll get that to the state too.
Anybody else? Okay, let's move on to agenda items. Number one is election update. Administration has put together a fact sheet regarding the April 8 election to answer questions that have been presented. This is attempt to get accurate information to the public and provide a smooth election process. Any further questions should be directed to Administrator Dooley or Finance Officer Lilly. And this is for discussion purposes only.
Okay, our updates for the election. We do now have the order that the candidates will appear on the ballot. we'll have Bogenreef Meyer, Benson Hoffman, Davis Burhoop, Zerf Strain, Wilch Tucker. And absentee voting begins next Monday, March 24th. There's a few questions added to our list here. Okay, the question was, if there's a petition submitted to refer the development agreement or TIF district for Union Crossing, when will the election take place? Have an update on that. We got a petition in today. The petition states, we the undersigned qualified voters of the municipality of North Sioux City, the state of South Dakota, petition that the following resolution, as passed by the governing board of the municipality, be submitted to the voters for their approval or rejection pursuant to law. Resolution 2025-03, a resolution of necessity, creation, and approval of tax increment finance district plan number 5 for the city of North Sioux City. We're still in the process of having our attorney review everything, make sure that we're good to go, right?
That's correct. And would anticipate having a response on that by tomorrow.
Okay.
To confirm what our plans would be going forward. So if that's a valid petition and it is filed, then there will need to be another meeting called for the council to present a valid petition and schedule the date for the election, which by statute, it would be on the next annual election, which will be the April 8th election ballot.
That seems kind of hard to understand what we're actually voting on. What actually are we voting on? Are you just voting on the TIF? Greg?
Well, you're voting on the resolution that's referenced in the petition.
A referendum petition is basically seeking to recall or stop the effect of that resolution that was passed to create and set up the terms of that TIF district.
Is there enough time between now and the April 8th election to meet the requirements of state law for notification?
Yes, there are. We've checked that timeline as far as the publication requirements for the notices that are required in preparation for the ballot, which will be open for the absentee voting starting on March 24th.
Would you mind rereading the question?
Yeah. Okay, so it's a municipal referendum petition in the municipality of North Sioux City. It says, we the undersigned qualified voters of the municipality of North Sioux City, the state of South Dakota, petition that the following resolution, as passed by the governing board of the municipality, be submitted to the voters for their approval or rejection pursuant to law. Resolution 2025-03, a resolution of necessity, creation, and approval of tax increment finance district plan number 5 for the city of North Sioux City.
Approval or rejection is what it says.
Approval or rejection.
Any other questions? Do you have more to go, Amy?
I do have a couple more, yeah. Okay, so when will the new commission be sworn in and take over? Are we sure on this answer yet, or?
Yes, this is our best determination at this point. So I would say yes until I receive any other contrary information.
Okay. Since we'll canvass the results of the meeting on April 14th, and then at our regular meeting on April 22nd, we'll have the old council conclude their business and adjourn, and the new commission will be sworn in and conduct their first meeting.
Just to note, there's a time limitation for when we have to complete the canvassing. And so from the date of the election on the 8th, it would be too long to wait until the April 22nd regular meeting to do the canvassing. And so there will need to be a special meeting in the interim time period.
Is it the 22nd or 21st is our regular meeting?
I was updated by Amy that if you recall in January, we had adjusted the dates
for Easter.
for some holidays.
Easter Monday.
And one of those was changing the April 21st meeting from Monday to Tuesday, April 22nd.
And the next question, I got a phone call. Somebody was wondering why Daniel Zerf does not show up on the voter registration list for North Sioux City, and he's one of our candidates. So this is kind of, I don't know. On the nominating petition for a municipal election, a candidate is required to complete a declaration of candidate in which they are directed to print their name exactly as they want it on the election ballot. When Mr. Zeraf pulled his petition, he printed Daniel Zerf. There are no exceptions in election law or regulations to allow a change to the language on the petition. Therefore, Mr. Zeraf's name will appear on the petition as Daniel Zerf. Likewise, we will not be removing or adding middle names or initials for any candidate, and all candidate names on the ballot will be printed exactly as each candidate printed their names on the declaration of candidate. And then finally, will there be a forum to meet the candidates and ask questions? The McCook Lake Association, Dakota Valley Business Council, and the American Legion will be hosting a candidate town hall on Monday, March 24th from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Here in the council chambers at City Hall.
And that will be live streamed.
Any questions?
One thing that we'll have to talk about then at our special meeting also is, getting this thing on the petition. I'd also like to hear your thoughts on what kind of information the city wants to put out on this, if any. Recall the last time we had this, we had some complaints that we didn't provide enough information relative to the change in government. That was the last one, wasn't it? The change in government petition. And so I want you to think about that and provide some input on that as we get into Thursday's meeting.
And so also, I guess in number 20, I had mentioned that if we got the petition, we would have a special meeting on the 21st, which is Friday, to approve the petition and set the election date. I'd like to go ahead and do that on Thursday since we've gotten the petition in already, so that'll be on the 20th at 5:30.
March 20th?
March 20th at 5:30.
And that's this Thursday?
Yes.
Will that town hall meeting be on video?
Yes.
Do you mean the special meeting that we're talking about here?
The forum.
Yeah, that one will be.
I think what you're asking is whether it'll be streamed live, so you can watch it live, or are you interested in watching it?
I won't be able to watch it live without watching that.
We'll put it on the website. That's kind of the goal with all these meetings now, is they'll be televised and put on the channel so you can see them after if you can't watch it.
The meeting tonight, how would somebody access that? Can they search YouTube for the meeting tonight?
Liz is saying yes.
And that would just be, how is that, what's the title, I guess, that you have for that file?
We have a, I don't know what the title will be yet. We can name it the date. So today, March 17th.
But what's the YouTube channel?
Oh, the channel title, City of North Sioux City.
Okay, thank you.
So City of North Sioux City. We'll do a post, so it's easily accessible.
So we'll also use this channel for other things, if there's a groundbreaking or something that we want to put on there for people to view, we'll be able to promote with it as well, so.
Okay, number 2, financial report. Finance Officer Lilly will be presenting a financial overview for February. This is for information only.
February, we received some more loan money for the water treatment plant, so our cash is up from 5.6 to 7 million. Balance sheet looks about the same. We do have more loan now for the water department right here, 2.6, and our statement of cash flows. In total, we saw a change of $1.3 million increase. Our FEMA and federal highway reimbursements, we're now obligated, or we've received 3, we're obligated on a 4th one. I got the letter showing that the funds would be dispersed, but I checked bank account this afternoon and this 386 isn't there yet, but it should be within a day or two. All of these projects here, emergency protective measures, private property debris removal, demolition of private structures, incomplete water line and sewer, and Penrose are all at the CRC, which means our FEMA rep and his team have approved all of the information we've submitted to them, and they send it to their CRC to basically cost it out according to the dimensions and stuff and make sure that we're in line with what they think it should cost. Last time, or when these up here were at the CRC, it moved really fast, so we're kind of optimistic that we will be getting this money here within the next month.
Just keep in mind that 6.1 million, some of that has yet to be expended, so.
Right. Incomplete water lines in this Penrose here, we still have, what, 3.7 that hasn't been expended yet, so. And we won't get that. The Penrose, since it's a small project under $1,014,000, I think, they will do an estimate on what's left to complete and pay us out. The larger projects, they'll pay as we go. And then Federal Highway, we're just still waiting on. I did a reconciliation of what we've recorded to our flood expense account and all this information up here that's in the FEMA projects. And there are $402,000 that's not included in any of the projects. 225,000 of it are land purchases that we had originally thought would go through FEMA, would be reimbursable. And there's still a possibility we can do that, but if we were to resell the land or use the land for another one of our projects, we would have to pay FEMA back. And at this point, it looks like that one of those 2 things would probably happen. So we haven't included it in a package yet for FEMA. And there's just some smaller expenses that we had to do that aren't reimbursable.
Is the 20 North Shore purchase the staging area by the interstate? Is that what that is?
I want to just mention, you know, that's a pretty good percentage reimbursement for the expenses that we had. I've had some experience in this before, and that's a very good reimbursement rate. I mean, you never get your full reimbursement because there's a lot of costs you have to undertake that you just don't get, that are not eligible for reimbursement, but you got to do it anyway. And I just want to thank Stockwell and Amy for all the work that they've done on this, and it's a great testament to the progress and the process that they had in putting this together. So I appreciate that. Like I said, I've been through this process before, and it boils down to a couple of people that keep track of all that stuff, so I appreciate it.
Could you help me with explaining, when you were talking about obligated expenditures, did I remember the term right?
Yep.
Could you tell me what that means?
That means it has passed all of their checks and everything. They've said that.
Checks in the mail?
This, and we're just waiting, yeah.
So when it gets obligated, they give it to the state. They give their 75% to the state. The state says they put their thing together, they add their 15%, and then they give it to the city or the applicant.
Can we have this information emailed to us?
I did today.
You did today? Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the bills?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we need, state law requires our city council to formally appoint the 3 election judges for its annual election on April 8th. Administration is lined up Deborah Livermore as the precinct superintendent, David Leahy and Sherry Kava to work as precinct deputies. These individuals have previously received training and worked the November general election for Union County as well as the city special election in December. Financial consideration is $770, $290 for superintendent, $240 for deputies. Administration recommends appointing Deborah Livermore as the precinct superintendent, David Leahy and Sherry Kava to work as precinct deputies for the April 8th municipal election.
I would move that we approve Deborah Livermore, David Leahy, and Sherry Kava.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Stockwell Engineers is presenting change order number 1 from RP Constructors for the Water Internet Project. Change order number 1 consists of various reductions as-built quantities. Financial consideration is minus $12,762.32. Administration recommends approval of change order number 1.
If you have any questions, this is just a zeroing out of all of our quantities so that our total contract value equals what we've spent on the project. And so it's a net deduct of $12,000 and change. We recommend approval.
Make a motion to approve water interconnect change order number 1 in the amount of negative $12,762.32.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Water Interconnect Pay Request Number 4 and final. Stockwell Engineers presenting pay request number 4 for the Water Systems Interconnect and Water Main Installation Project. Financial consideration $13,804.52. Administration recommends approving pay request number 4 to RP Constructors for Water Systems Interconnect and Water Main Installation Project. Administration will request reimbursement from Dakota Dunes for their half of the payment amount.
Stockwell recommends approval.
Make a motion to approve water systems interconnect and water main installation in the amount of $13,804.52.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 6, water treatment plant pay request number 14. Stockwell Engineers is presenting pay request number 14 for the Streeter Drive water treatment plant expansion process. Financial consideration $403,368.32. Administration recommends approving pay request number 14 to Christensen Construction Company for the Streeter Drive water treatment plant expansion project.
This is a continuation of the project and a progress payment, and we recommend approval of the payment.
Are they still looking to be finished on time?
I don't think it'll get done on time. I'm guessing we'll be somewhere around 2 weeks to a month behind.
I would make that motion to approve.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 7, Stockwell Engineering Report.
So just giving you a quick update on where we're at with the construction documents and the flood recovery. The plans have been submitted to all the local agencies and the state agencies for review of the plans for North Shore Drive. That construction document would complete the surfacing, any utility work we have remaining on North Shore Drive as well as Penrose. And so that project is in the process of being reviewed. We also have Federal Highway is doing the environmental assessment on that, and they are in the process of doing that. So really that's kind of our critical path as far as making sure that that project stays on track and try to get that out for bids yet this spring and under construction. We are meeting with, we've sent out notifications to all the property owners along there to solicit construction easements along the project alignment, as well as some of the property owners don't have right-of-way easements in place either. There's some properties along the project that still need right-of-way. So we're going to be meeting with the property owners this week, tomorrow and Wednesday from 3 to 7 to just bring them in and explain the project to them, explain the easement documents to them, and then if they're okay with the documents, they would then sign them so that we could record the construction easement and the right-of-way easement. If there's any questions that come to you regarding them, please direct them to us. However, the construction easement, which is what we need kind of throughout the entire project, is a temporary project construction easement, meaning it allows us to do work on their property to grade their front yards or grade their yards to the new curb and gutter. And so it's a document that we need to be in place so that our contractor can come back and finish warranty work, say, a year after the construction is complete. So it's something we need to in place so that we can come back and reshape or do any warranty work. So then that easement then goes away over time. And so just so you all know what that is, the permanent right-of-way easements that are needed are just that. I mean, we've got some properties that actually their property comes out to the center of the road and there's no easement for a roadway in there. And ideally, we would have liked to have gotten right-of-way there, but just to simplify this, we're going to try to acquire just the right-of-way easement, which is similar to their neighbors on each side. So that way it doesn't change their setback of where they would have to build their home and whatnot. And so that's something that's going to be taking place over the next couple of 2 to 4 weeks, actually, where we're meeting with Jeff and our staff to try to acquire these easements. So that's a big move on our part to acquire the right-of-way and the easements that we need for the construction of that project. The water treatment plant, moving along well, but we do anticipate the project being a little late, whether that's 2 to 4 weeks. It shouldn't impact our delivery, though. As far as the construction goes, as far as our water that's distributed to the citizens, we'll still have production during that time. It's just it won't be completed on our original schedule. And so we'll be monitoring that after the completion date and take appropriate action as we move forward with that. We do anticipate some things that are still coming up. There's a couple of issues that we've got to deal with that we'll be talking to you about in the future with the water plant. I don't have any of the information right now that might require a change order on the project to add some cost, but it'll be well received, I think, when we move forward with that. So we're looking to do some centralized air conditioning instead of isolated air conditioning, so that would be an upgrade to the system. So we'll be in touch with you on that at probably our next meeting or the following meeting. And then we've got some other minor changes that are going to be happening with that project, but it's coming along very well. The contractor does great work, so I want that to be known by everybody that they're doing a great job. It's just a little slower than we would like, but we're getting a good product at the end of the day.
Before you move on, could we
Yes.
go back to
Sure.
item number 1?
Yes.
I've heard discussion from a couple people that what is the plan for the properties that their homes have been removed, or maybe the home is there and they want to sell that home to someone else? Where are we with that? I'm not sure.
Well, I think Jeff and I have been working, or Stockwell and administration have been working closely to try to establish a plan to whether we acquire some more property. I assume that's what you're referring to, in the flood hazard area. So that's our what Jeff's been calling your short-term mitigation plan. And that short-term mitigation plan identifies parcels maybe adjacent to where your existing property is, that you already have adjacent to the lake. So we have a little more area there for the water to maybe overtop. And so there's some parcels that have been identified for that. There's been some other identified properties to maybe contain some of that water so that we can release it slower into the lake. And then also, as part of the mitigation plan, we're looking at ways, how do we get it into the lake? If we do want to get it into the lake, how do we get it there and get it out of there soon enough so that it doesn't negatively impact anyone on the lake? And so those are some things that we're working on closely with Jeff and Rusty and the administration to make sure that we come up with some options for consideration to the council. But at this time, right now, we've identified some parcels adjacent to the North Shore Drive But we're probably not in a position to say we absolutely need these right now. But we've talked to a lot of people around the project and said, kind of you're in harm's way type of thing. We'd hope that you would hold off until we have a plan moving forward. And so that's what we've been working on. So I don't have a straight answer for you. Sorry
Okay,
about that.
Because people are asking.
Yes, and and fair,
And
very
they're
fair.
saying, this is what I would like to do, and I'm.
There's still
I
a
don't
little bit
know.
of uncertainty there as to
Yeah.
what we need to do, but that's one of the things, when the new commission takes over, is we need to get that, out there so people, and that's what John is working on, Stockwell's working on, so that we can present an idea that's properly vetted.
Well,
And so,
I mean, can we even just say something to the people that you
Yeah.
think might be impacted?
Yeah, and we
To
hope-
say, could you wait a little
Yeah,
bit
and
before you move
done-
forward?
yeah, and we've
with
done that,
a
and we
plan?
hope to have some of those conversations over the next couple of days as well.
Yeah, that's really what's happening over the next couple of ways. We don't have a final decision like Jeff's trying to say, but we're going to ask them to maybe pause until we have a better decision.
And I think it's very important for the people on North Shore.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to figure out what are they going to do, so I think
Right.
it's very important that we try to get that information out as quickly as we can.
You know what? If I recall, there was a for sale sign or two out there.
Yep.
What happens with that?
We've talked to them about that, so
Okay.
we're going to meet with those folks, so. Yep. I think it's pretty clear from an engineering standpoint what we need to establish and acquire. It's going to come back to, administratively and then financially, and then is it a feasible option and how do we approach that option? So I think there's a lot of steps we got to figure out here yet. I think from an engineering standpoint, we understand what we need. We don't necessarily know exactly which parcels we want to identify yet.
It'll help when we can get this out in front of the
Yeah.
commission.
It will,
Yeah, I mean, as long as people know,
yes,
don't jump ahead and sell your property and then find out that,
yeah,
oh, the buyer can't build anything there.
yeah.
So,
And that is something that, I would, if we did get a building permit for one of the areas, one of the first things I'm gonna tell them, and Jeff's gonna tell them is, hey, that you're in harm's way here, we need to talk about this, so,
well, it might be too late if somebody already bought the land and
yeah, I hear
then
you,
they come for the building permit.
I hear you.
So, just if we can make sure that we're making them aware.
It's,
The other issue, though, I see with that is if you have people who are having the opportunity to sell their property and move on with their lives, then we're holding that up, and that's,
Yeah.
they've been
I don't
through
want to
enough.
do that either.
That's kind of a tough,
That's why tomorrow and the next day, I think we're gonna gain some traction there, so.
Like I said, when we get this in front of them, once the new commission gets on, we can get some of this stuff out there.
Yeah.
I think we can make progress. It's just right now, we're in a holding pattern with all the other stuff that's going on.
Because just another update that kind of leads on to that mitigation, short-term mitigation plan is going to be, something that's short-term. It isn't your long-term plan like what the county's proposing. And so there's going to be some steps within this mitigation, the short-term mitigation plan that you may or may not decide to do just because of the impact that it might have. So, but we're working closely right now with RESPEC on a model of the drainage so that we can identify how fast are we getting the water over North Shore Drive? How fast are we getting it into McCook Lake? And how fast can we get it out of McCook Lake so it doesn't negatively impact people? So those are things we're still working on. We just don't have answers for you. And then, any other questions on that? I'm going to move on to the next projects here if I can. The levee project, we've identified a new location, the temporary levee, and we're still moving forward with that. As you know, that got paused a little bit because of our priority is really the short-term mitigation plan right now. But we're still working on this because we want to make sure that we're eligible for the grant funds that were applied for on that. And so we want to make sure we're meeting those deadlines, and we're still doing that. We still anticipate that easily to be accomplished. Water interconnect is complete as you approve the final pay request. The GIS, that's going to be a great project for you and Rusty and everybody that'll want to use that GIS system. We're at about 50% complete on that project right now. It says 40 in there, but we've been making some good progress in the last couple of days. So that project is coming along well, and it's going to be something that everybody can utilize if they so choose to once we get that up and running. And we'll give you a demonstration once we get that done. We're hoping to give the administration and Rusty and their crew an update of where we're at either next Wednesday's meeting or the following Wednesday's meeting, and that's just to really kind of show them what the powerful tool that's going to be, so that they can see an example of that. Because we've got kind of the east area, east of the tracks over there done, and we've worked on the core area, so we're going to have a couple areas completely done, so we're going to be able to click on some nodes and see some photos and see some manholes and see the condition of them and things like that. So it's going to be a very nice product when we're all said and done. And we've got, like I said, we've got a couple of proposals that we're working on. The Sioux Laundry Lift Station, we've put that on pause, as Jeff had indicated. The McCook Lake short term, we've kind of put that on pause as well as far as our proposal in front of you. That's going to be presented to you at a later date. And then construction administration for Union Crossing. If that now doesn't happen, obviously we wouldn't need that, so that's been put on hold as well. So we're on hold on those proposals right now at this point. So any questions for me?
Could you go back to number 4? I believe it was number 4. Number 3, maybe, the levy?
Yes.
You mentioned a grant. Could you explain a little bit about what that's?
I can't. I'm going to ask Andrew to come and explain that when he's available. He's the one that had put that together. I think it's $3 million. Don't quote me on the size of that. So
that must have been before I was on the council.
I think it was. And there's another subsequent possible $7 million follow-up from the Governor's Office of Economic Development, but that's a loan that would be at, I shouldn't say. I want to have Andrew give you that update.
Fair enough.
So there's about $10 million of whether it's grant and or no interest loans or low interest loans. So, and Lynn, you had a question?
You made a wonderful map.
Yeah.
I would like to see that wonderful map up on this wall.
Okay.
So especially when we talk about the levy.
Yes.
Because to me, that's very confusing, and I think not only for myself, I have some understanding of
Oh yeah,
what's
I can
happening,
point to it then.
but I would really like to see it up on the wall where everyone
Yes.
can take a look at that.
I can talk to Rusty about helping us get that up there, maybe.
I'd appreciate that.
Yeah. Any other questions for me?
For me,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
we've always had all these drawings of the levee, but I'm totally lost on where does the other end of the levee end up?
Okay, so, okay, there you go. Can I have you zoom in on that a little bit? So you guys can see let me show you. Yeah, now scroll over there a little bit. I'll show you. So you see at the bottom end of that piece of paper where those two lines kind of come together? Two lines? Mm-hmm. So the one that's kind of a big dash line, that's the existing levee that's there today.
I understand that.
So the dark blue line that you see on the east side that follows the river, mm-hmm. that would be the proposed new alignment.
Right, but where does the other end just...
So that one got cut off on this map. It actually circles right back around to the same location of the existing one.
Really?
Yeah. And so really what this does, with this levee, what this basically it does is it protects the additional acres that you have purchased in the past, and it doesn't change the 1976 Corps of Engineers flood mitigation plan. Because what happens is we would still require a temporary levee that would go up there. It would be, the same procedures would be needed for that, so that we don't, negatively impact anyone else, so.
I'm hoping that this is part of the solution, the long-term solution that we come up with.
Because, the long-term solution that has been discussed also, Bob, has been, rather than, just circling back around here, it's been discussed as going up further north and possibly crossing over at like where the racetracks are. So it even opened up more, protected even more property to the
Well, if
north.
this was to happen, I would think that would
Yeah.
make more sense than coming right back again.
You will still, okay, so there's still some challenges with that. But if there is a long-term mitigation plan, and that is where we can get a lot of that water, across the interstate farther north, you're right. We probably wouldn't need as much of a levee up here. Because that alternative would be, we're basically gonna allow the 100,000 CFS go through the city like it does today, or 90,000, and then whatever is greater than that would then be diverted in a different channel that would go to the west and down to the Missouri, but still confined so it wouldn't impact the property owners west of McCook Lake either. It's important that we don't negatively impact anyone in this new plan. And same thing, even with the short-term plan that we're looking at, it is very important that we don't negatively impact anyone. And so we want to make sure that anything we do here improves the conditions. It doesn't negatively impact the conditions.
I can't imagine this relocation not putting water over onto Iowa. More so than now.
Okay, so
Let's not debate this whole thing
okay,
here
okay.
Tonight.
All right, sorry. Any other questions for me before I exit?
Thanks, John.
Thank you very much.
Okay, motion for adjournment, 8:18.
Move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.